locations, and the second the teachers leave, they'll be in, doing the construction work that they can do this summer. Excuse me. So we're very excited for that, and just looking forward. Graduation is Wednesday, the 18th, for our 6th graders, and school's out on Friday. So very exciting time of year.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next is presentation regarding the truck wash.
He's in a rush today.
Chris?
Where's
he going? Where's he going?
And I got Terry and this is Chip, who represents the truck wash, vehicle wash system. Here's some information. I don't know, did you get it?
Got something, didn't we?
Oh, okay.
She's so funny.
How are you?
There you go. And then is Lawrence coming?
As far as I know.
I'll give him one. Okay. Guess we got a couple things here going on. As we move along in our project here down below, one of the things that we always talked about was the truck wash. We went from a separate building to put it inside the main building, which we did. And as we went along, we've been talking with the engineers and the architects, and we needed to find a system that would accommodate what we need for our needs. Along the way, Terry and his meetings with the engineers came upon Chip here, Chip's company. Terry had some very interesting information why this company is different from the other companies that we've been researching and looking out. So I'm going to let Terry talk about it. He can explain it, can explain some of the drawings here, and move on from there.
Just to put this in context.
Yeah.
Although it's not indicated, I believe in part this presentation is with a goal of seeking a bid waiver
That is
for the
correct.
truck wash. Is that
That is
correct?
correct.
So you'll be presenting why this is unique and why it's something that we would have to do for our building. Okay.
Just by way of background again, because
Yeah.
I'm familiar.
Right.
I know-
Yeah.
But so a truck wash was approved?
Yes, it's part of the building.
Part of the project.
Part of
Public
the-
Works.
Yes.
Is the cost of it in the
Yes, it is.
overall number?
Yes.
Okay.
It's part
So
of
now it's just a question of what truck wash and where we're putting it.
that. Well, we know where we're putting it,
We do.
but we need to know what type of system we need to operate to
slide
make the
in.
truck wash
Okay.
work.
And Joe, I think it's largely whether there is one unique company for what we need, and so a bid waiver would be appropriate, and that's what we're going to hear.
Okay. I just wanted.
Can I ask, just as a little more background?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, originally, there was gonna be a truck wash building, separate building as part of the site,
Absolutely.
and then the cost seemed to be a little bit high,
Yeah.
so we decided to remove that building as part of the plan, but still go forward sometime now,
Yeah,
looking into a truck wash.
right. So what we did was we took an end bay, the very last bay, made it a little bit bigger so to accommodate all what we needed. And that's how we incorporated all of it together.
Okay, I remember. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good evening. You're absolutely right. This request comes to you in the form of a bid waiver for a sole source on this particular vendor. A representative who will speak to us briefly this evening. Truck washing is some of the most complicated things that I've frankly ever done. I've done large complicated
We suspected that.
projects. Well, it's interesting that it'd be so complicated. We are regulated by DEP regulations, and we do not have a public sewer system to drain into. And so with DEP state regulations, we are required to retain in a closed system all of our water. We are on a public water supply, so we have a water meter, and we pay per gallon of water coming into our facility, like everyone does, is on a public water supply. And and when we drain water at the end of the day, we have to pay someone to take it away, and it must go to a treatment plant, a sewage treatment plant. In between, we are obligated to use this water that we own as much as possible And that's what makes this proposal unique. As to answer your question about who we purchased this from, we purchased this as part of the general contract for construction, because this involves a series of large tanks that we will be discussing in a moment. And we purchased all of the piping, the flues, the plumbing connections, all from the general contractor. The only thing we didn't purchase from the general contractor is the equipment in the truck wash equipment room that actually washes the truck. We did that because we believe that that we have only one source in the New England area for this equipment, and that it is important to the program that we get this equipment correct, and we do it correctly. We do believe that we've done so now. And with that, perhaps Chip Downey, I can introduce you. Chip Downey, he's come to us from Portland, Maine this evening to discuss this. You have some handouts with you in both of the previous handouts. We've also made some other larger examples of that. Chip, if you want to tell us about your truck washing experience.
Okay, we're a small manufacturing company out of Portland, Maine. We actually manufacture this stainless steel high-pressure pumping plant. And the picture of it is on this handout that you've been given. And that's a picture of it right there. It's a high-pressure pumping plant. It's made at our facility. Our welders put it all together. It's all stainless steel. It has a cat pump direct drive on it to develop the pressure. Cat pump is probably the best pump you can buy in the car wash business, just so you know. It's got a 2-year warranty on it too, and it's guaranteed to work with reclaimed water, because we're going to be dealing with reclaimed water here. And one unique thing about our pumping plant is it has 2 water tanks on top of it. You can see both of them. So it's a dual water feed pumping plant. We feed reclaimed water to the pump, and we feed fresh water to the pump. So there'll be a switch on the wall in the bay where the triggers are. There's a picture of the gun with the trigger right there. And you'll have stop, you'll have wash, and you'll have rinse. When you press wash, you'll get hot, soapy water, and it'll be reclaimed water. So we're reusing all the water out of these tanks that you see over there. When you press rinse, you'll get fresh water. In truck washing, when you have a closed loop system like this, you have evaporation carry-off, so you're always losing water in a closed system, so you have to reintroduce fresh water to the system, and the way you do that is with your fresh water rinse. So when it's not rinsing, you're using reclaimed water, okay? That last of the 3 settling tanks right there is where we have our suction line that goes back to the equipment room, which is where the reclaim system sits. And this is the picture of the reclaim system. This is made by Conserve Manufacturing in Lakeland, Florida. We put these all over New England, and they work very well. It's a very simple system. It has a stainless steel filter on it, and it's right there. You can see the big stainless steel tank. And it's called a 10 micron stainless steel filter that backwashes so many times an hour automatically by itself. So there's very little maintenance to this system. It takes the water out of that last tank, puts it through this filtering system, and takes it down to 10 microns. That means it's clean enough to put through the cat pump. It's still under warranty to take 10 micron water and to wash trucks with. You don't want to drink this water. It's not. This isn't a desalinization plant. This is a lot cheaper than that. But it tends clean water to wash vehicles. And that's what it's designed to do. The other thing you'll see on here is it's got an ozonator on it. Is that part right there. We're taking ozone and we're injecting it to the second tank. And I'll just point this out because we no longer only use these settling tanks to settle all the silts out. By the time the water gets to this tank, there's very little turbulation in the water, and this is the cleanest water in the whole system. So it comes in here, there's a baffle here, goes over here, then goes into this tank. So your heaviest solids are in this section right here, Now, by the time you get here, all you have in this tank is very little solids, very little turbulation, and it's called gray water. The DEP calls it gray water, which means it's a fairly clean water, and all it has in it is washing solutions. And our washing solutions pass the Federal River Diaway test and are totally biodegradable. So there's nothing harmful in here. These are 2 suction lines that go back to the equipment room, Schedule 83-inch suction lines, and that's where the water comes from that tank back to your equipment room. There's an overflow right there. That overflow goes to your, what I call a tight tank, and it's on the plans. And the tight tank is a 4,000 gallon tank that holds all the water that you're gonna have to get rid of at some time. According to how many cars you wash, trucks you wash a day, so many gallons, it's just the rinse water that will go in that tank, will overflow to that tank. And that tank will have an alarm on it, so the DEP manager will know when it's 75% full, and then he's gotta call the guy up with the truck and have him come and suck that 4,000 gallon tank out. He'll drive it to a municipal sewer and dump it there. So when you don't have a sewer, what you do is you reclaim the water, so you use it more times, so you're not just throwing it in the tank and paying someone to drive it off, and then you replace the sewer with the truck. So the water is being properly dealt with here, and it's most efficient here because you're reusing the water, so it's not all fresh water. So it's a lot better, cheaper on the bills, cheaper on the trucking, cheaper on the dumping and all those things because we're reusing the water. There's another pit before this tank here, and that's in the bay of the car wash, and that's our /sand separator / grease trap, where all of our heavy solids are trapped in the bay itself, and our hydrocarbons are trapped in that tank also in the bay itself. So that can be maintained easily by cleaning it weekly or monthly, taking the hydrocarbons out weekly or monthly, so that we don't get a lot of sludge and hydrocarbons out here. You should get no hydrocarbons out here, and not much sludge out here. These tanks, you probably clean them once or twice a year. You'll hire a suction truck that will come in with a vacuum on it and suck these all dry once or twice a year. And that really depends on how much you're gonna use the truck wash, how often you're gonna have to suck those up. Does that make sense? We started years ago working in the field of, and this is how I got involved with this job, doing DPWs. We do a lot. We do a lot around the Massachusetts area. I have 5 under construction right now that you're gonna have our truck washed. Norwood, Medford, Bourne, and there's 2 other ones. Anyway, these are DPWs where they have sewers or not. They like our equipment a lot because they're gonna get a high quality gun. This isn't something like you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's. I mean, you're gonna get 2 gallons a minute at Home Depot, just so you know. This stuff here, our system that's spec'd for this job here, will put out 6 gallons a minute at 1,800 PSI. That's really high pressure. It's a high volume too, so it has the ability to knock large amounts of salt and mud off a vehicle. And it's nothing like a toy that you would buy in Home Depot. I just wanted you to know that. We got involved in the reclaim end of it because of the lack of sewers in Massachusetts. A lot of these towns in Massachusetts don't have sewers, so we had to go there, and we designed that dual water feed pumping plant ourselves. We make it, we designed it. I'm not familiar with anybody else that makes a dual water feed pumping plant. We've never found one anywhere else. So that's how we get involved with this. The reclaim system that I brought to the table from Lakeland, Florida, that we distributed for, we're the distributor for them for New England. So anybody that wants to buy one of those in New England has to go through us to get one of those. And whenever anybody calls them up, and like the engineer did on this job, called them up and wanted to know about it, they sent the engineering company right to me. And then I worked with Couch on the job and laying out the tanks and how it was all gonna work. Because it's not just a piece of hardware in the equipment room, it's the tank system, how it lays out and how the pipes work. It's all gonna work, and we've approved everything, so it will work nice. with a minimal of maintenance. It will require maintenance. We do maintenance, and we'd like to get involved in the maintenance, probably on a quarterly basis. A truck wash like this is all you need us to show up once a month, once a quarter, and go over all the reclaim equipment, go over the wash equipment, grease it, look at it, adjust things on it, and it'll keep your uptime probably to 98% uptime as long as we're keeping an eye on it. We made the stuff, so we know how to make sure that way anybody here doesn't have to know much about the equipment, they just use the stuff.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Terry,
Yeah.
I see why you described it as not so simple. I just want to ask you not so much the details technically about this, but since the concept here is that it's a unique product, if you could just tell us a little bit about the research you've done and how you concluded that this is the product that we need and that it is unique.
There are I could identify about 40 different vendors for car wash equipment when you're, if you're washing cars and you're on a sewer system. And I can identify only this one if you're washing trucks on a septic system. I think this dual water system manufactured in Portland, Maine, for largely DPWs in small towns, just describes where we find ourselves.
And what about the life of the product? Chip, is this something you've been selling for some time?
Yes.
So you have how long, what's the longest installation you have?
We've been
on your-
the company's been in business 30 years, just so you know. We specialize in bus, truck, and train. That's our specialty, and DPWs. We did the whole bus wash down to the New Haven bus wash facility down there. That's a big job. But we have equipment that's been out there 30 years, and it lasts a long time. It's all stainless steel. So as long as it's maintained properly, it's not gonna rust away and fall apart, you know. Maintenance is a big thing with wash equipment though. So it should last a long, long time.
Beth?
Because I forget, I think. This is a manual truck washing system?
Absolutely.
Okay, it's not, because I'm,
It's on reels that slide back.
I think I remember when we did the tour, but,
It's like a trolley up above.
so the guy, the gentleman
When you
that
look at,
worked there are gonna be doing
I
this.
think it was this page right here, and you see this guy right here.
Right,
It's like that, but it's gonna be up above,
Mm-hmm.
and it slides on a trolley, so
As
they
long as
walk
they're up in the air, so that they
sure,
don't-
I see this
Basically,
sort
there'll
of,
be two wands
uh-huh,
on either side of the truck.
mm-hmm.
This is not a gantry system. Those, by the way, cost over $200,000. You can have it automatically. We're not doing any of that. We're having, I believe that the truck driver should be responsible for cleaning his own truck. And we're giving him because we're big sports, we're putting him a wand on either side of the truck. That's right, that's right. This was approved, by the way, unanimously at the Public Works Building Committee and recommended to you for this action. This is a fully funded portion of our budget. We have a garage equipment line item of $250,000, and we have spent to date $5,821.41, 11% of the budget. So that this, while expensive, is fully within budget, and we plan to ask you this.
And it
question.
complies with the DEP and all the regulations, huh? Yeah, 60, yeah, that's, no, it is, that
No,
is.
There's a couple of numbers around. I have a proposal specifically.
And is there an estimate on the, I know it would depend upon how many trucks we're washing, et cetera, but it would be nice to get a handle on the quarterly
We have an
maintenance
extra.
charges that we should expect on
Let me get
this.
that to Ted.
Okay.
I will do that. He's already asked me for it. It's
Okay.
on my list.
Okay, great.
I'll get that to him next week.
Perfect. And lastly, So 68,000. I understand the uniqueness here and our particular need. I'm just curious as to, I presume we're paying a premium over and above other units that are out there that can work without septic, that have sewers. So can we have an idea of what kind of premium?
I believe that this is an expensive truck wash. By the way, you and I agree. However, I think it's really expensive in the long term to use your gallon of water that you purchase from the meter and then flush it down the drain. We are not doing that. We are reusing that water. So I believe that in the long term, there is certainly a premium with this. I would say we're in the neighborhood of a 20 to 30% premium. But what mitigates against that?
How much you use it, you expect
That's-
to recover that over time.
Yeah.
That's fair enough. I just wanted to get a sense of.
Well, your hands become tied when you don't, not into a sewer
Yeah,
system.
I know.
And either we'd have to drain it into one tank and not use it again, so you get a one-shot deal out of the water, or you get to use it more than once, and that's what we're trying to do, is get it many times as we can.
So how many times so evaporation sets in, so how many uses do you get out of it? And then the fresh water becomes gray water, et cetera, it kind of just turns over.
Susan, do you have a question?
Yeah, so there's two questions. First of all, thank you for a very coherent presentation. According to this proposal, this is just the equipment proposal. Are the construction costs associated with this already in the budget? Are those gonna come?
Nope, they're already in the base bid.
Yeah.
All of the tanks, the concrete tanks in the ground, all of the plumbing connections to this, and even while we have, as part of this proposal, a hot water heater, the flue for that hot water heater is in the base building.
There's two future operational issues. One is the maintenance contract, if you decide to go in that direction, but the other one is the hauling relationship, correct?
I think that both of those are issues. In terms of maintenance agreements, we find that whether it's software or whether it's office equipment, maintenance costs are forever. And that, yes, there will be a maintenance as a recommendation in the department's regular budget for next year for his maintenance. And then the hauling away the wastewater, we have some ideas for that, and we are working on how to mitigate that.
Oh,
Well,
yes.
we are, and I think it's premature to announce to you before we discuss it but we have some ideas to mitigate against that cost.
That sounds interesting. I'll stay tuned.
We're on the edge of our seats. Tony, do you?
Yeah, I have a few, just some of them are just clarifications. So all the tanks are above ground? No, they're,
These are all below ground tanks. Those are in the ground there. The cement tanks in the ground.
so the final tank where you remove the water from is also below ground?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's pulled out and then hauled away. You said that you handle maintenance contracts as well for these projects. 3 to 4 times a year, you suggested, is something that you do.
Yep.
And I haven't heard any estimate of what that kind of cost. I mean, I realize you're gonna put it together, but do you have something to give us an imagination?
Maintenance has nothing to do with the tanks. Our monthly maintenance, we call it a PM, monthly maintenance. We do it for lots of equipment that we sell. Our customers love it because then we can protect it against going bad and whatnot. And I do owe Terry that quote on that, which I'll get him as quickly, you'll have that. All it deals with is the boiler, the high pressure pumping plant, and the reclaim unit. Those are the 3 pieces of main equipment that are gonna be in that equipment room. And that's what we would maintain quarterly, 3 or 4 times a year is all it really needs. And as long as we're doing that, one of our factory guys, that'll guarantee, he'll be here someday and he'll see something, a belt or something there's no belts at Strict Drive. So he'll see something that's gonna go and he'll go to Terry, we need one of these, can I get it off the truck? Because it doesn't include parts. It includes a whole checklist of things he goes through, and he checks off, and greasing and oiling and all this kind of stuff, and I'll get that to Terry really quick.
I just have two more.
Okay.
Are there any more instruments that are needed, materials, like, I see this in my packet, is this something that's included in
Yes.
your projection now?
Yeah.
Great,
Yeah.
so there's no more necessary instruments or materials that are needed after the installation?
That
of-
right there is the high pressure and it turns to go underneath the trucks, underneath engines and stuff, so they can clean the underneath of the trucks. The other wands and stuff through the sides.
Right, and this is included in your
That is
cost,
correct,
okay? And
yes.
then the last question I have is, this will serve for all trucks, fire trucks,
Could-
other,
Yeah.
any trucks in town?
Anything you can drag in the bay.
Great,
How do we wash them now?
carefully.
You don't really wanna know.
Okay, then I don't wanna know, that's fine, I'll go with
By
that.
the way,
But-
last winter, as a test, I sent one of our public trucks down to a public truck wash in Milford along the
Yeah.
interstate.
And they charged us $60 to wash that truck. And they asked us not to come back. It's too dirty. 7 gallons of solids are left on the floor of the truck wash after a snowplow route is done. And so
If we want a truck wash, we don't really have a choice.
You summed it up right.
Yeah, I mean.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to grant a bid waiver with respect to the truck wash for the Public Works garage?
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Chip, it was very clear. Yes, thanks.
All the way from
Um,
Maine to there.
I wanted to make sure you understood what we were talking about.
Thank you very much.
Bring us any lobster.
Yeah, I should have.
Terry, there are 2 change orders now.
Right.
Chris, did you want to speak
Yeah,
to
we
them?
had,
Sure.
Terry's gonna pass out the 2 change orders, and
You have in your packet the
Recycle those.
Absolutely. Because we've had a few change orders,
Thank you, sir.
we thought that you might like to review the entire change order of projects, just so that, thank you. So that you might see it in an overall point of view.
You warned us last time, any other warnings we should have?
Later.
Later? One warning.
Thank you, Terry.
And because we can, we had to include a chart this time.
Terry has little graphics for us, little colors.
We had to have help with this. This is all high math.
Pie.
Thank you.
Like the colors?
Yeah, getting creative.
I think it's useful to see this thing in reference. In front of you is 2 change orders. One that was unanimously approved by the building committee to change the grade in between town hall and the new building. If you will recall the cedar blight, where we had a row of cedar trees protecting this building and the drive behind it from the thing, and they, by the time this project came to fruition, we found that we would both be troubling them, but they were also very diseased, and large percentages of them have now been removed. And now when I drive around town, by the way, I see cedar blight everywhere. This is a big problem in our community. There's a specific borer of an insect that's doing this to our cedar trees.
Let's not talk about trees.
Okay.
Longer conversation.
What this proposes to do is to raise the grade as it approaches the building, which will tend to flatten out the area, not completely flat, but more flat, to reduce the grade in between this building and that building. and to provide a guardrail on the bend. If you can see, we have a plan. I think most of you have.
You guys
all
got
of you
this
have
right here?
plan.
Yeah, okay.
And we show Town Hall in the center right. And that's where we are today. Our new building is this big triangular
Square,
square space. And we have a drive that goes around Town Hall. And I believe, the Public Works Building Committee believes that we need a guardrail separating that driveway from the new building and the drop-off. I suppose that when we did the new addition to Town Hall some years ago, we probably should have put a guardrail in then. We didn't. We planted shrubs. There's only been 3 accidents that we know of, but I believe it's prudent to have a guardrail. We proposed this to our building committee, and they have unanimously recommended this particular change order. We do understand that it is the largest change order to date, which is why we have distributed to you the counting of the use of the contingency and the pie chart that shows that with our building to date, we still remain with all of these proposals that are in front of you, and that everything that we've used the contingency for to date, we still have 56% of the contingency left. And we believe that's adequate for anything that we can think of.
Is the guardrail in lieu of planting that you were doing in addition, or just entirely new?
We intend to seek the advice of the garden club to do the planting, but what the contractor owes us with this proposal is a grass, is a finished grade and a grass, and we'd like to do some plantings, but that is not anticipated with this change order.
Hybrid garden rail. Goes to a guardrail.
Well, what we're trying to do.
Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know any structural.
Shrubs, that's the problem. We've made it out of wood.
Okay, so help me out here. So here's Town Hall. Here's the driveway, here's the drop-off, here's the setback, here's the new building.
All right, go to, you know.
No, I know exactly where I am. I'm asking you, is it going like this? Are you gonna go like this?
Yep,
Yeah.
So it's gonna go like this,
not flat, but a gentle curve down.
like that?
That's great.
How many
Exactly that.
How long?
It's 352 feet, the guide rail.
Steel?
It's a very
No,
gift.
we're gonna go wood because we thought steel would be too commercial looking.
Right.
And we thought the wood cost a little more, but we thought the wood would look a lot better and it would form. One of the other things the committee, as we were sitting down talking about this, all of a sudden, before, nobody really even knew Public Works was behind there. They had trees blocking it. All of a sudden, now you don't have trees there. All of a sudden, people, instead of, just going about their business, all of a sudden might get nosy or something and start looking, and all of a sudden we're afraid that somebody just might go, oops, lose,
So the guardrail will still be at this natural point.
That's correct.
We would like to have a little snow shelf from the driveway so we can
Plow the snow up,
Yeah.
but yes, exactly it.
and
Nice elevation work.
I know,
Yeah.
on my first rodeo.
Wow.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Back when the original bid was being put out, there was talk about removing that tree line and doing some work and then to maybe make the project a little less costly, that part of the project came out. At that time, was this thought of, or just to remove the tree line and?
The big problem then was,
Is that we had to make a straight cut to make a straight wall into that. And we had a choice of either we had planned to shore it, which means driving in flat shoring pilings to make it safe for the workmen to work and then backfill against it. When we learned that the cedar trees were diseased, we came back to you, your previous board, and described the condition, and we were then allowed to effect $100,000 savings to the contract, from the contractor, so that they can cut away this slope. It gave us this condition, and we think that we can improve this condition and make it better upon reflection.
So is there some sort of retaining wall or? Right now, or basically it's just a natural slope and what goes,
It's a
goes?
pretty well natural slope.
You know, that's there. And what we want to do is change the grade, so even if we did put grass out there, they can cut the grass and at least keep it down, keep it. And we talked as a committee, haven't talked about having the garden club's input. We're talking about maybe one significant signature tree there that mean, something as people walk in there. We've come up with a lot of different ideas, but as we go along with the project, things change and, designs change, so you have to sort of look at it and try to see where it fits into our budgets and how we can make it work. So,
And my last question on this sheet here that you just handed out, Terry, is, so the truck wash wouldn't be part of this sheet, this is all about what was left.
Truck wash is a fully
Contingency
funded.
That's on the.
So this is just the contingency fund and what we've so far addressed, and maybe I see one here that may be a future request in red that hasn't been approved yet.
Well, it was not approved by the building committee.
Okay.
So none of these change orders that get to you until the building committee has sussed them out and discussed the activities quite thoroughly.
That's not a request for us yet, that's still in your hands looking at it.
It's
Negatively,
responded to by the building committee, therefore not in front of you.
Any other questions? Anything else that we haven't covered? Okay, is there a motion to approve change order, is it 6R?
Yeah.
6 R's revised, so.
Yeah.
Change order number 6.
Right.
For the public works, thank you. Is there a second? Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. There is a
Thank
change
you.
order number 7.
I think you will like the price of it.
Yeah, we see.
Yeah.
This changes, our contract with PDS ends in June. We are not complete yet, and we think it's prudent to have in the terms of the contract extend to the finishing of the building. And there was no penalty clause anticipated. There's no reward for anything either. We had a very difficult winter. We will not be finishing this project in June. So
I think you had mentioned before that you expected it to take longer because of the harsh winter and the weather. And so now it's a 148-day extension. Are there any questions? Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Terry.
you, everyone.
guys.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, Warren. So, good evening. Warren is here to talk a little bit about the road paving program that we have and what you anticipate for the coming year. Some of us are new to the board, and I think just a little bit of background about what we do, how long we've been doing it, what kind of program it is, and then what you're proposing would be helpful, so everybody knows what to expect coming up.
Well, in 1999, we developed a road paving program, which basically takes several different processes of pavement replacement in town. And it's taking roads that were not previously asphalt, or roads that were asphalt at some point that have degraded, and improving the surface. At this program stage, given the length of time we've been doing it, we're not into any road reconstruction where we're taking out the base of the road and revamping the road or adding extensive drainage. All this is pavement resurfacing. We started out, basically, our old program used to spend about $50,000 a year doing the old sand seal process. We do a third of the town every year.
and then it was a continuous cycle. And that was no longer feasible for environmental and longevity reasons. So we went to this paving program, and we've been increasing the funding for it pretty much steadily, but we've kind of plateaued because of budget spikes. And we have a budget request. I think you've all seen that over the 6-year plan on the capital budget, that it was pretty much flatlined throughout that process. There's a lot of things that dictate what we do on a given year, and that's the cost of the material, and whether there's other processes involved, such as adding drainage or curbing to the roads, and the type of process approach to the pavement replacement. If we just do an overlay, it's just a single layer of asphalt. If we mill a road off, which is grinding the existing surface and removing it, kind of just giving it a little bit of a haircut, if you will, and then replacing that with 2 layers of asphalt. And then the other process is full depth reclamation, where you leave the existing road in place, reconstitute the base with that material, and then apply 2 layers of asphalt over that. And that's pretty much it as far as what we do. There's other maintenance processes that we do, but as far as the paving program, that's what we have done. Historically, we've gone anywhere from 2.5, 3.5 miles in any given year with the budget request, and pretty much every year that's where we fall. The selection of roads, the goal was to try to get all what we perceive as arterial roads, which is our main roads that the arteries that we would normally commute on, branching off when we had opportunity to do the secondary roads. We've had a mixed match, and we've never reached or attained our goal of getting all the arterial roads done. This year, we almost have closure on those arterial roads by what is being proposed in this year's plan. There is one road left which I would consider it an arterial, and that's Greenway Road. And that would give us closure on the arterial. Then we can start focusing on the secondary roads. And I gave Tony a proposal and a memo of the roads that we intend to do and the processes associated with that for this year. And if you've seen that memo, we have the list of roads, and the amount of mileage stays consistent. The big variable, again, will be the cost of asphalt, because that constantly fluctuates, and then the cost of putting it down. And with that, we'll have to wait and see once we get the quotations on it. And we'll adjust what you see in the proposal might go up or down depending on where the costs come.
I think it's important, Warren, to underscore how your program saves the town from wholesale deterioration and then the need to do some major bonding initiative to address roads that have been neglected. This is an ongoing maintenance program, and I don't think you give yourself enough credit for administering this.
Thank you. I should point out that the infrastructure with roads and you know, everything that's in the road is an ongoing process that will never go away. So it's a continuing process.
But you see what other towns look like when they don't adhere to a program like yours.
I gave Mr. Sheehy an example of another town's before his death, and it was a comparison what towns would spend over a 5-year period. It was a lot higher amount with a lot less in return for it. So I think our program is doing the town due diligence. People do have to be patient, and there's a trade-off for that. But I think without raising taxes significantly to support that, the process is doing the job. Is there issues with roads? Every road, I don't care if it's a brand new road, you're going to see something sooner or later start to go wrong with it. So we are maintaining the best we can.
I just wanted to ask, this is going up once we decide on the, 100%. This will be up on the town website, correct?
Yes, it will.
Okay, so people can look and see, you know, when, and maybe dates or something like that, when it's gonna happen, so people, residents who will be impacted.
We will try to get
Okay.
our structure adjustment, the town does that.
Mhm.
We'll bring in a contractor, you know, with the approval of this, we'll bring in a contractor to start the either the milling or the reclamation process in preparation of a contractor to come in and do that. The goal would be ideally to get it done before school starts, but given the timing of preparation and everything else and scheduling conflicts that may already be in existence with the vendors, we don't know whether that's attainable or not. We do seek that goal, though.
Thank you.
And Warren, of course, this is only town roads.
Just town
State
roads.
roads are not part of the program, but these are starting
It's a
with
good
the
point.
main arterial town roads and moving on from
There's
there.
no state roads involved in this program.
Thank you. Tony?
Yeah, Warren, to Lawrence's point a little bit, I think back at the budget hearing time, you spoke to how many years life expectancy you hope to get out of a road, and I think around at that point you said maybe 10 was a round number, some going less, some going more.
Right.
How many total miles do we have in town that are town roads? Do we know that number?
There's almost 80 miles of road. It's 78.66, something like that.
Typically, how many miles are you getting done in a year? Are you getting 7, 8, so that's 10%?
2.5 to 3 miles that we ever do on an average program year. We've when I started the program, which goes back to 1999, we had roughly 27 miles of paved road in town. I don't know what was underneath those paved surfaces, whether it was just capped or what. Right now, we're pushing 60 miles of road in town that are paved. So we've accomplished an awful lot. We still have roads out there that the surfaces are still sand seal, and we still have some that we've put topical treatments of chip seal on those roads. So we haven't attained treating the entire town. Now, in this program, we are treating roads that were considered paved under those guidelines. And in years to come, we'll be taking those roads that have already reached the replacement curve and replacing them with new asphalt. And still not attained the goal of getting rid of the sand-sealed roads. It's just one of the facts that as a road degrades, you don't do the worst road first because it'll cost you too much money. You want to maintain the roads to some passable level and keep the good roads good, and then it'll mushroom out once you accomplish that. And then you'll have, in years down the road, you will have a maintenance level associated with this. So it should improve over time.
I think road paving is as complicated as truck washing. Figure it out?
Probably more.
So I think that's a good overview of the program. I think if people have really detailed questions, perhaps you can check with Warren afterwards. Is there anything else about the
Can I just ask
proposal?
one
Yes,
follow-up
sure.
on that? So it sounds like basically we would be needing to do about 7 miles or 8 miles a year if we were going to keep that 10% of 10-year average of the road life. So do you, and obviously we're not getting that, we're getting more like 4 or 5%. Do you think you see in the future we're going to need to step up to do a little more per year, or do you see that hopefully the life expectancy of the roads are lasting longer?
In any program, to keep your, let's say, your maintenance cost or what you administer in any year, you have to look at everything, and Tony and I have discussed this from the bond perspective. If we had a lump of money, and back in 1999, we were looking at $8 or $9 million at the cost for doing the work at that time to get us to a maintenance cost that would keep us in check what our spending was. And I think that because of the degradation curve, you're always going to have something that's lagging behind, and you're really not ever going to come out of what our current spending trend is. Because if the road is going into decline, you may choose a different option, which would ultimately lower your cost. So you'll have that benefit. But then you have to look at the other side of the curve where road base may go into failure, and then it's gonna mushroom out. The difference of the saving is, it's always gonna be there, because you may end up replacing a base on a road. And if you could keep up with through other maintenance processes and what we're doing here, I think we can keep our roads safe without getting into the base issues. We're doing a minor drainage installation today. We had no idea that drainage existed in that road. And we didn't hit it, but we found drainage that was in the road. And everybody in my crew was surprised that the pipes were there. But they weren't doing what the small segment, we had surface runoff that we're trying to collect the water without damaging the new road that would potentially be there.
So we will put on the website what the proposed roads are, with the understanding that both the order of the roads and the total number of roads may change.
Correct, that's always.
Okay, thank you. Now, if there's no objection, I'd like to go to item 8C, because Warren will be speaking to those items.
I'll give you some background on them. They're bids, results, but they involve Warren's operations. So I figured while Warren was here, if there were any questions. The first is bid 2012-07, which is container hauling, and it was a multi-year bid. And John's Refuse was the winner on that particular bid, and we would just like to get approval for the third year of that bid from John's. The board had awarded the other 2 years, but just because it's a multi-year bid, we typically go back for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve bid 2012-07. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments about this? All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
The second is, we had a steep grant of $200,000 to put in or repair and put in sidewalks, concrete sidewalks at Lucy Street and Litchfield Turnpike. And so we had we'd had those, the design work done by Malone and McBroom, who was the winner of our RFQ process for that. And we went out to bid, and Clover Construction was the winning bid. You can see we received 5 bids, and they were the lowest bid at $152,285. And at the time we had done this, Warren was checking references, which
All of the reference checks came, I had one person that was on the list that did not get back to me, but all the others did get back to me, and they all came back very favorable.
So we would like to award the bid to Clover Construction, and then hopefully they'll begin as soon as they can.
I'll make a motion to approve bid 2014-16 for the sidewalk installation. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
We have a steep grant for this?
Correct.
For the full amount?
Yes.
I have one quick question, only because I couldn't find it on the bid. It says Lucy Street in Litchfield, so it's the entire Lucy Street on one side? Okay, it's not really
It's the eastern half of Lucy.
eastern half, and it says.
It's about
Litchfield
midway in the
Turnpike.
block going out to Litchfield Turnpike. And it goes from Litchfield to Landon, and then on the north corner of Landon, there'll be a short section to match what exists down there already.
Okay, so eastern half of Lucy, then from that corner up to Landon, and the little part of that.
We previously had a grant that did the other half and went up Amity Road. You know?
That I remember,
Yeah,
but,
right.
so this is ending at Landon with that little stipulation.
Correct.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Did you have a question? Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Warren.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're now at item number 5. We discussed last time that we received the steep grant for improvements at Beecher Road School, $500,000 for pedestrian and traffic flow improvements as well as lighting improvements. And I entertain a motion to authorize the first selectman to accept the steep grant.
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. It's just before 7, I think we'll go to public comment. Laura?
Laura Torrance, 17 Burning. Thank you very much for bringing Karen back. All of you work so hard, Tony, Madam Selectman, and especially the endless hours on the telephone that Kathy Pickerel had to endure with questions and so forth. But now that she's back, I hope all of you will be pleased. I thank each and every one of you that came down there and visited the shelter in the last few weeks, because it gives us at least an idea that not only are you interested, but that you can follow our progress, because we hope we're going to make a lot. And she came back on June 2nd, and the public has been so excited and pleased. We've had so many visitors to the shelter expressing their wants and abilities that they'd like to volunteer and help. We really don't even know where to begin because so many people have been in. But since the 2nd, we've welcomed 3 totally new volunteers to the shelter who have signed up, and one hasn't started yet, but it's a young lady from Orange, an honor student whose parents are going to drive her because she takes some sort of classes where she goes to school in the afternoon, but she's 16 and she's going to do the whole summer with us, and we're very optimistic for that. We have a man who is our very first volunteer ever from Derby, who's already spent 6 hours at the shelter and is a very talented person, so he can help us in so many ways that we never expected. He's a graphic artist. He's going to do some design work in the shelter. He's going to help us with T-shirts and logo stuff that we hope can generate some money. And thirdly, we have a gentleman from Bethany that has committed to 45 hours of community service, but he's very strong and he's going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting, and he's looking forward to it. And so we're excited about that. We've had, in the last 10 days, all of our gardens have been weeded, replanted. I know Ellen and Tony went down there, and that was from 2 volunteers from the town that not only did they do all the work, they paid for all the mulch and all the flowers. It was a donation to the shelter, and they're going to continue to move along through the entire facility, so I think that's really looks nice. And we took some rusty old cages, my son did actually, to the recycling, and we got $22, which will be given back to the shelter for a bunch of junk, because he was turning in recycled stuff for a job. We had some hay donated. We had some chickens today that I guess they took from a farmer that was overwhelmed. And we had about another $150 in nuts and bolts, cleaning supplies, gloves, items for the shelter, just small things that we realized we could have put in for, but people were happy to just buy them so we could get stuff done. And we've had really so many people coming by. It's almost been kind of hard for Karen to focus because people want to welcome her in, but in the last 10 days, we've had 5 volunteers put in 83 hours of time at the shelter. And I think, Tony, you knew what it looked like before, so it's looking a lot better. I think we're just getting started, but it's a dream of many of us that maybe with proper management through grants and different things that we hope to apply for, that perhaps in the next 5 years the shelter won't cost Woodbridge anything and could be paid for by other towns and would be really a real star in our cap. And maybe it's just a dream, but we're hoping that's where we can head. That's our plan. And for many of you, you might just see peeling paint and broken fences, but for many of us, and for especially the animals, it's a sanctuary that gives a new start to discarded lives and thrown away animals that no one wants. And we've placed a lot of them into loving homes, and so we thank you for giving us that opportunity. Having Karen back means so much you can't even imagine. And in closing, to quote Mahatma Gandhi, the greatness of a nation is its moral progress can be judged by the way its animals are treated. And so, thank you. You're welcome.
Any other public comment?
Okay.
Next item is Dwight Rowland, update on the Old Firehouse project. This also is a background and update, particularly for the new people, about what's been happening. This is a long, ongoing project, and I think it's good for us to get filled in on the background and history as we start hearing proposals going forward.
It has certainly
Hi,
been a
Dwight.
while since I've been in front of this committee. So, but let me just give you a little history, as Ellen has said.
As you know, we had a fire at the old firehouse years ago. We went out to bid and we completed the exterior restoration of that back in the end of 2010. So it's been 4 years already. I have David Stein, the architect, too, who's actually helped us with this project as well. Then, we hired the architect, and we now have construction documents for the renovation, which is phase 2 of the existing firehouse, which will include an elevator and everything else, all ADA. The makeup of that is Bay 1, which is the original bay built in the 1930s. Will house the antique vehicle, the firehouse, along with some miscellaneous storage. Bays 2 and 3 that were added subsequently will house the new fitness center. So we'll move them out of center school into there. The upper floors, the meeting room will be restored. The wood floor and everything will be restored, and that will be used as a general meeting room. They used to have a kitchen upstairs. We are not going to do a full kitchen. We're going to do like a warming kitchen. And then on the opposite side of the floor, there will be another meeting room. So there'll be additional meeting rooms here in town, which the public can use. Currently, the existing firehouse is storing some stuff from the fire department, which is the hazmat trailer, hose, which has to be controlled, climate controlled, and everything else. So back when the new fire station was built, originally was going to be, what was approved was roughly 25,000 square feet of construction. It was downsized to 20,000 square feet, so it was lacking about 5,000 square feet. So what the town did was the town agreed to build a shed behind the new fire station. And the shed is it's 42 and a half feet square. It's roughly 1,800 square feet. And that would then, we would then be able to, the fire department would then be able to take everything from the existing firehouse, move it over to the shed, so the renovation can start in the existing fire station. The slab was bid out and was completed at the end of 11. So that it's been like a few years that it's been sitting there. We do have construction documents for that shed as well. So that's just a really quick scenario. I don't know if anybody has any questions or anything. Our building committee has been meeting on a regular basis. We do have a budget. The phase 2 of the existing firehouse is a little over $1.2 million. The completion of the shed is a few $200,000. That's about $1.4 million and change. When we met with Tony last week in the building committee, we understand there's town funds of about $250,000, somewhere in there, roughly. So additional funding required for these projects would be about $1.162 million plus or minus. So, one thing also we need to note is the existing boiler in the firehouse, the old firehouse, is basically shot. It was held together last year by a lot of Band-Aids. So, one of the things we need to do if we don't move ahead quickly with this project is we should consider purchasing the boiler for the renovation. we need to bring the gas in, hook it up, because now it's all gonna be natural gas, and then we need to pipe it to units so we can keep it warm during the winter months. So, all right, so what we'd like to do is, our recommendation is we need to move ahead on these projects. The longer we wait, the more it's gonna cost, plus, I sit on the Recreation Commission, and every meeting they ask the status, when is it gonna get built, when is it gonna get built? So there is no reason why we should not be moving ahead, especially when we have documents and we're ready to go out to bid.
Yes. Well,
Well,
No.
not this number,
They're not.
but none of this,
The town funds that we have of $250,000 is, part of it is from the shed. There was a budget for the shed, and that's about 32,000 or thereabouts. The remainder is from the insurance proceeds that we received from the fire. So we received the insurance proceeds from the fire, and we used the balance of that to complete the exterior. So what we have left is for the interior, which is a little over $200,000.
And what's the cost of the boiler and doing that?
Well, we
piping?
haven't done that yet. I'm
So
just
that's
saying
not
is, that's when it, no, it would be part of this project. What we would do is purchase the boiler so that it would be sized appropriately. It's already on the drawings. We have full construction drawings that we can actually go out to bid today on this.
I'm asking different questions, I'm asking, is the cost of the boiler and installing it in this 1.162?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Yes.
One thing I don't have, or I haven't seen, is can we get a copy of any construction documentation or plans you have, as well as cost breakdowns? And,
I can give Jerry a copy of the shed and of the restoration project,
Yeah, and I have a large format if anyone's interested.
if anybody.
in plans.
Sure.
and then,
Or I can email them to Jerry, and then Jerry can email them, and then you could look
Okay,
at,
that's
you can
fine.
do that too. if you
Good
want.
idea.
I can do that as well.
perfect. And to the point of the boiler, I'd like to suggest that we at least consider using a similar boiler system that we just put into Beecher, and maybe the same maintenance company, so that it makes it a little easier to at least take a look
We
at
should
using a
consider that.
similar company, and maybe we can use the same maintenance company to make life, because I know in town now, between gas burners and old boilers, we probably have
It's a
three or
good
four
suggestion. We'll take a
different,
look at that.
so,
No, it's a good idea.
just to take a look
No, it
at that
is.
company.
It is a good idea.
So we're not being asked to do anything tonight?
No, I
Just
just wanted
a
to make
back.
sure people
So-
understand
so
that this
there-
is in the works.
So is there a time frame or anything? or-
Well, we're gonna need to move pretty quickly, because it's gonna have to get installed in the fall, because literally you want the boiler installed, piped with gas by October, early November, before the weather gets cold.
We can go ahead with the boiler before we do anything else without hindering in any
Because
way
there's
what else would
insurance
be going on.
proceeds that were part of the loss was the boiler. I mean, was the
So we can take care
heating
of
plant,
that.
so.
You have monies available.
We have monies available. Now we just have to go out to bid and get the bid results back, and then,
Well, that's what I was
present those
trying
to
to
you.
ask, maybe I didn't ask it right. But this has to be approved by the town, right?
The
This is not a
boiler?
special-
No, not the-
whole
Not the
thing.
boiler,
Oh,
the
the
rest of it.
project, yes.
The whole
Yes,
project
the
would.
whole
Yeah.
project would have to be a special town meeting and
Right.
you'd have to borrow for it.
Yes, right.
You wouldn't,
And the
yeah.
concept
Right.
of putting the rec department, moving that, when going into the old firehouse was approved, I believe, by the by a previous board of
That's
selectmen.
correct.
That I know was that, but it's all sort of sitting there waiting to be done. It's a domino thing. We have to do the shed before we can do.
We had a deal on boilers a few months ago.
Yeah.
The question frequently comes up about the new firehouse and why the equipment that's in the old firehouse can't go in the basement or somewhere else in the new firehouse. Can you address that?
I mean, all I can just say is that. Okay, you have a hazmat trailer. Hazmat trailer cannot go in the elevator, can't go down. That has to be in a climate-controlled environment. Same thing, there's racks and racks of hose, new hose. That can't go down into the basement. It has to be stored so it's readily available. I mean, the fire department,
I mean, see, this is not their project. This is a town project. So the thing is, they don't really care whether or not if you want to keep the storage over in the existing firehouse, because it is climate controlled right now. Right,
And
right.
that there is not space in the new firehouse, which would be the logical place to put it.
There is not space.
When we originally programmed the building, it was intended to be 25,000 square feet. And through the value analysis, it was, okay, we'll deal with storage when we get there, and we'll see where it shakes itself out. So it was really designed with a basic need, and actually the basement component, we actually proposed that we build that to provide some room for expansion, because actually originally in the program, that wasn't there. So we always knew we had to deal with this. Somehow the town would have to deal with this in some capacity, and that's kind of where we are.
Where we are today.
Where we are today.
Right.
So this would be a one-floor shed? To put, and everything
It's
that's
about
in
1,800 square feet, and
ground
they
floor.
could put a second floor on if they want, because it's a gable roof.
But all the materials that you want to move over there need to be on the
Everything,
ground
everything
floor.
everything will move out of the existing firehouse into this shed.
It would all have to go on the ground floor so you have access. Because it can't go above, it can't go below. And the trailer itself would also go over there, or that trailer and the old truck would stay in one of the
It's
old?
gonna go over there.
It's
The
got-
only thing that's gonna stay over here is the antique vehicle, because it's gonna stay in the original Bay One, which was the original building, along with some small miscellaneous storage.
Hosing and the hazmat
hose,
trailer
the
will go
hazmat
in the
trailer.
shed on the main
I
floor.
mean, the shed, when you look at it, has 3 overhead doors. So it will accommodate the hazmat trailer and some other, and, you know, the light trailer and a few other things. So we can get it in and out of there. But we just want to get everybody, we just want to give an update, because it is very important. It's been on the books for a long time, and, you know, we'd like to get it done.
It's been there, it's on the books, and we have all these construction documents, so it's almost, we're talking like, okay, here it is, but it's not been approved.
Correct.
So where do we stand with this?
I mean, the dollars haven't been approved. All the drawings and the documents have been
So
approved.
conceptually, it was approved that we would put up a shed.
That's correct.
And
That
And
was
there,
approved.
yes, and there was money put
that's-
aside for the
gets me
shed,
somewhere.
and I believe
There
the
was
shed was.
about $180,000 budgeted for a shed.
Okay.
And,
How about the?
But the shed is,
The
so
shed-
the
At
shed
that
is
time,
over
let me just
budget.
clarify, at that
Right.
time,
It's,
but at that time for the shed, okay, the fire department was gonna offer in-kind labor to construct it. We can't do that now, so now we have to purchase also the additional labor.
And it should be clarified, the foundations are in place.
Right, the foundations are there.
And Tony, that foundation was paid for out of that
Correct.
fund?
No, the foundation was paid for out of the capital budget appropriation about, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
Yeah.
2 years ago?
If
End of
I
11,
believe
the end of 11 was
11, yeah.
completed.
it was contemplated that the shed would cost less than it now appears, in part because the firemen were going to provide labor, but then we discovered that they could not be covered under our workers' comp policies because they're not town employees. So
Right.
there were reasons
Correct.
that couldn't happen, and the price of the shed went up quite a bit, so the cost of the project went up. So I think it's important to understand the background, and this is on the list of important town projects that we need to consider.
I do have one more question. What's a warming kitchen?
A warming kitchen is just.
It's not a full
So
sto-
microwave, it's not a kitchen.
Just a microwave?
There's no
and-
stove.
You're
What?
not grease, you're
You're
not.
not
Microwave
doing
and a
grease, a microwave, coffee maker, maybe a little warming oven.
Right.
But nothing, but it's just to keep,
No
you can
brisket.
heat food up and you can make coffee.
Okay.
Will there be a sink?
I'm sorry?
Will there be a sink
Yes.
for
Oh, yeah.
running water?
It's gonna be a kitchen, it's gonna be, but it's not gonna have a stove, it's not gonna have like a hood and anything else. It's
Right,
gonna
just
be stuff-
electronics.
You can bring stuff in, warm it, and you can serve it.
Gotcha.
if you want.
Is that meant to be used by the employees or by the people using the fitness center?
The meeting room.
No, it's a meeting room, it's
Okay,
actually,
so
you can host meetings up there, large groups and everything else. It is a fairly big room up there.
For the people downstairs, I guess my question is whether it's a fitness center or.
Programmatically, it's really intended just for the meeting.
Just for the
itself,
conference
yeah.
room.
And it's gonna be also for
Yes.
yoga. That room upstairs is a perfect room for yoga.
So I think it just needs to be managed in terms of locks and how
Right.
much access, but
Right.
it's really intended for the meeting room.
So Was it contemplated that the entire building would be under the jurisdiction of the Recreation Commission?
No.
Just the fitness center on the first floor?
Just the fitness center on the first
Okay.
floor. And then the town would then rent, whatever
Yeah.
meeting rooms they would have to, you'd have to arrange for the meeting rooms and everything
So
else.
who would have access to the building? So rec would only have access to the fitness center, but not to the rest of the building?
That is-
Who would
that is-
control, I guess, the
that is
building?
correct.
We would control it.
We would control it.
So the previous board approved all this conceptually, without any numbers.
I don't think
No.
the previous board, the
It
board
was,
before that.
it was
Well,
two
whatever,
boards, it
not
was
us.
2 boards ago.
Some-
It was a
some
long
board
time
before
ago.
This board.
I was here,
approved
it
this
was, it was a long
conceptually.
time ago.
With-
We had Joe
without any
Raiola doing
numbers,
drawings, that's how long ago it was.
drawings, right?
Well,
It's
there
a
was
long time
original,
ago.
we had some original concept estimates. We were then approved to proceed to the construction documents in which we're essentially done.
I mean, we went to the recreation, I sit on the rec commission. We went numerous times, presented various options. We got layouts all approved, we got the electrical approved. So everything that's basically on the final documents there has already been approved by recreation. And we're ready to go, it's ready to go.
Which means the town has to approve.
That's correct.
With
So,
with some firm numbers based on the existing plans and so forth.
right. So I would suggest board members see if there are any other questions that we need answered, review the plans, and then we can decide next steps and when we want to take them.
And then we can come back
and-
next month if anybody has any other questions or.
You can get those electronically.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll
Okay,
send
good.
it to Jerry tomorrow and she can send it to me.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So we have the neighborhood assistance act scheduled at 7:30. Do I have to wait for the public hearing? Yeah, okay. So the Neighborhood Assistance Act public hearing is scheduled for 7:30. So we will, rather than start that early, in case anyone is coming at 7:30, we'll move to item number 8, which is Administrative Officer Finance Report.
Sorry, I distracted you.
Sorry. Thank you. We have our report for the first 11 months of the year. We only have one more month to go. And we have a budgetary surplus of about $168,000. And that's just shy of 10% of our annual budget. So a couple of highlights. Our tax revenue is projected for a surplus of $85,000. We have one more month to go, but that's a pretty safe estimate. Our intergovernmental revenue is $150,000 surplus, mostly from the from the town road aid grant of $120,000. The department revenues are projected shortfall of $741,000. That actually changed a little. We've received some revenues from the rental of lockers and some other golf-related revenues that we're able to reduce that a little. The interest income is about a $25,000 shortfall. That's been consistent all year. The Woodbridge Country Club is a surplus expected of $355,000. There's a $28,000 surplus in the center building, mostly due to natural gas conversion and savings there. The police department, we monitor that closely with the chief, and we don't anticipate, while there's an overtime issue, which you can see from the report attached, there should be surpluses in several wage accounts that will cover that shortfall. So when you don't have some positions filled, then you are not paying some other items like holiday pay and college incentive and some other payroll items that will help to cover that shortfall. Waste management, there's a surplus of $75,000 due to reduced tonnage and tipping fees, reduced tip fees that we had budgeted a little higher. Employee benefits, a $60,000 surplus, mainly in health care. And Woodbridge Board of Education is reporting a surplus of $43,000 in their operating budget.
Any questions for Tony?
Well, those are all the major items, yes. Sure.
So in your expert opinion,
Mhm.
every year we I say we, previous boards in the last, I don't know, 8-10 years, have, in our budget process, moved $400,000 out of our balance or our fund to cover any possible shortfalls. So, and we've included that as part of our budget. So, for
Correct.
example, this year, when you say we have a surplus of $168,000,
Budgetary surplus, it's
it's a
cash.
budgetary surplus. So
Right.
we actually spent $232,000
Correct.
more
Cash
than the
loss
original
of-
budget.
Correct.
So in your expert opinion, is it becoming, and I realize this budget's already handled for next year, is it becoming time that maybe we can adjust that and stop assuming to take the 400,000 out, maybe we just adjust it down or get rid of it completely, so we take $200,000 out of our fund balance?
I wouldn't necessarily get rid of it completely, but it's something that we always should look at seriously, and we should always weigh the potential tax impact of lowering that, because then when you lower that, that's $100,000 you have to raise from somewhere else, with an appropriate level. 10%, in the 10% range is somewhere I'm comfortable. 9%, 10%, 11%. If you ask a rating agency, they'll tell you that there is no range. They're comfortable the higher it is.
Sure.
But that's their opinion, because they want to see you have flexibility in your finances. But you have to then weigh that with the tax rate and where you think you want to collect in taxes.
So can I just make a formal request that maybe you just take a look at the last few years for us
Sure.
and show us the trend, and maybe if we're only spending 200 extra on average, maybe
I
we
can
can
certainly
adjust
do that.
next year in the
We have
budget
that in our
process. We
budget.
can look-
It's in our budget document. There's a couple of charts, but I could certainly bring that to the next meeting. We can review that specifically.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next, our funding request. I believe there's one funding request.
That's
Tony?
it, just one, yeah.
This is line item transfer 1314-29. Can you explain that?
Sure.
Here.
Do you have it? Yeah. I know what it is. I just wanted to look. This is a funding request. Yeah, in the registrars, and it's requesting a transfer of $5,000 from their operating budget to a capital budget line for a electronic voter check-in program. There's a letter attached from the registrars which does a nice job of explaining what the program is and what the funds are for, but it's essentially for an electronic, as it says, voter check-in during an election, and there are some variables still left to determine in terms of the software and some hardware issues. So while I think we were all hoping to have this available to purchase, I think there's a request to transfer that into a capital line so that they can do some additional research, perhaps next month, make that happen.
I will move approval of line item transfer 1314-29. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
No, I just want to
Yes.
applaud them for making a decision to wait the outcome of the vendor certification process before they want to choose one that's certified. It looks like other,
Right.
I applaud them for doing
Right.
that, having done that job. I've never done, not this job, but good job.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is animal control.
Report. Was that printed out? Do you know?
Yes.
I have it, papers everywhere.
Yeah, that's it. That's part of it. Well, there's some, Laura did a nice job of explaining what has happened over the past few weeks. As you all know, Karen is back and working down at the shelter, and there have been a lot of wonderful improvements to the facility, and we're all excited about what's left to come. Just in terms of operations, there were 65 calls responded to, 18 in Bethany, 27 in Derby, and 20 in Woodbridge. And there were 2 dogs in Derby, 3 dogs, 3 cats, and 11 kittens in Woodbridge that were adopted. And there, as the time of this, although I think it's changed since then, there were 3 cats and 5 dogs at the shelter. I think now there are also some chickens, and a rabbit.
We said
A rabbit, right. And there were 228 people visited animal control, and there were 205 phone calls. They would log in every visitor and every phone call to the shelter. We're also working on a capital improvement plan, which had not previously been done in earnest for the shelter, and should have that for the next budget cycle. Should there be anything on that plan that requires immediate attention, we will certainly let you know and see if we can take care of that immediately. And we're also in discussions with the other 2 towns for moving forward, but I think you'll have some more on that in a little bit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I do want to comment about this. As Laura mentioned, Tony and I were there today, and the shelter looks markedly improved. It was a complex situation that we faced over this year with respect to the animal control officer and the shelter, and I was very glad that we could move this along and bring Karen back now. Certainly the people who are intimately involved with the shelter and the animals were very supportive of Karen, and I think we're in a very good place now for the shelter.
One thing I do want to mention is that at your next meeting, now that we have our Karen back and we have our operations on a stable footing again, we'll have a funding request to do for the animal control fund itself, that because we had some additional expenditures. So I'll put that together for our next meeting, and then I'll present that for your consideration.
Also, I want to mention, I know when Laura was speaking, she made reference to the 16-year-old volunteer, and my first question was, what about liability for a minor?
Right.
And she's already been in touch with town council, and Jerry has the forms that have all been taken care of. So
Right.
thank you for that. Joe?
Yeah, I'm happy that Karen's back, and operationally we seem to be in much better shape. Tony and I were down there last week. It does look good. The townspeople feedback seems to be a little bit more positive also, which is good. But at the end of last meeting, we all kind of agreed that maybe we needed to take a look at the shelter from a broad range. I thought we did anyway, in terms of other towns, maybe other ways of handling it. Maybe there's other towns that we can bring together. It's not a regional thing. I don't know what it is, but I didn't want to lose sight of that, because when the feedback wasn't so positive, we had all kind of agreed, yeah, we should take a look at it. I still think we need to do that, even though it's back on a better footing.
Yes, I think there's no dispute about that. We've already started meeting with the towns with whom we already have contracts, and I know there's been some talk about other towns joining us. So it's a very good point, Joe, and we are continuing.
Talk with other towns also, so
Okay,
we're definitely moving forward on that.
Yep. Lawrence, did you want to say?
I was just gonna say, it was a regional operation and it fell apart because there was no one member of that regional entity to take the lead. And so I think this model, despite its drawbacks, is a better working model.
And it could be, and we seem to have taken the lead.
Right.
and that's
Well,
okay, 'cause
we have the facility.
Yeah, exactly, but I just think we should, look at maybe.
Yes. And with respect to the, there was the interest expressed by the town of Hamden to have some of their dogs come here, and that we did discuss it with Karen and
Right.
made a determination that would not work for us at this time. And Jerry let them know.
Right. We talked to the town council, corporation council in Hamden, and said that after studying it, the amount of money they wanted to pay versus the burden it would have on the ACOs was not worth it.
Right.
So at this point, we sort of put it off with the knowledge, with the understanding that if things change, we would get back to them.
Okay, anything else, Tony?
No, that's it.
No other?
No other.
Okay. We'll now go back to the 7:30 public hearing on the Neighborhood Assistance Act applications. This is a technical requirement for the Neighborhood Assistance Act in accordance with Section 12-632
Yes. Makes more
of the
sense.
Connecticut General Statutes. This is the R.E. Van Nostrand Neighborhood Assistance Act. I now call this public hearing to order to receive comments on the applications received for the 2014 Neighborhood Assistance Act. The legal notice was published in the New Haven Register on Thursday, May 29th, 2014. Is there a motion to waive the reading of the legal notice?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the public present regarding the applications? And the applications are as follows. Amity Teen Center, $24,000 for Energy Conservation Program, Improving Energy Efficiency. Amity Teen Center Amity Teen Innovation Center, $20,000 for training teens in entrepreneurial skills. And the Ezra Academy on Rimmon Road, $10,000 for professional development regarding special ed, $25,000 for professional development for scholarships, and $2,500 for professional development for education. Is there anyone who would like to comment on those? Seeing none, has the clerk received any written comments?
Not by 4:30 today.
Thank you. Anything else? If not, I declare this public hearing closed. And now we approve those applications.
What we do is we accept them and proceed with the process, which is sending them to the Department of Revenue Services.
Okay, is there a motion to accept the applications that we have in our packets here and refer them as Jerry stated?
So moved.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, I think we might have talked, I forgot, but how do we publicize this, right? And then
In the
people-
newspaper.
And then those who are interested come to us. And so we're
Right.
confident that we're getting that out broadly to
I think
all
there are,
those that might be interested.
I believe so. I believe that there are regulations that we follow.
Yes, we follow all the regulations.
It's a state program, and I think they give us the guidelines. Did we vote?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jerry, Northwest Cemetery price structure.
The town owns a cemetery which is on the corner of Peck Hill Road and Seymour Road. One part of the cemetery is quite ancient, going back to, there are burials in there that date back to the late 1600s. The newer section is the section that I'm discussing now. It was purchased in, I believe, 1962 to, it's a cow field that was purchased to add to the cemetery. And the idea is to provide a burial place for town residents or the descendants of those town residents. Okay. There are two things. We do have a pricing structure, and the prices haven't been changed since the early 1990s, and I believe it is 1990. At that time, we raised the price from $100 to $150 to $350 for a resident and $425 for a non-resident. We are recommending that the single grade be raised to $500 for a resident and $800 for a non-resident. This would bring them in line with other municipal-owned cemeteries throughout the state, and it would also bring them up a little bit closer to what the two private cemeteries in this town charge.
So the change, Jerry, once again, is resident going from $350 to $500, non-resident from $425 to $800, and that would be effective July 1, 2014. Are there any questions for Jerry?
I have one question. When I was reading this, I was trying to figure out about how many plots are available there, and how much land do they still have available, or do they have an estimate of?
There are 442 plots available.
Wow.
No, I take that back. I just sold 440 plots available.
Really?
Yes.
Who on this group knew that there was a cemetery?
I
didn't know.
Not me.
I used to.
I didn't know that.
We have two cemeteries.
It's called North.
No, we only have
Northwest.
one cemetery, it's
Two
Northwest
private
Cemetery.
It's,
But
okay,
there's other
this
than
is
that.
Northwest?
This is Northwest.
Okay.
Mhm. The other two cemeteries in town, East Side on Pease
Right.
Road
Right, that's right.
and Milford
Those are
Side
private.
on Baldwin, those are private.
Right.
They're cemetery associations.
What
I
about
didn't
the
know
one
there
on
was
Richmond?
440 plots.
Yes, that's
Richmond.
Milford Side.
Phew.
I didn't mean Baldwin.
Yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
It's a good
Baldwins have always taken care of it.
Okay.
I had no idea. Very interesting.
It's a good deal for the next 2 weeks.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you.
Yeah, before July 1st.
So you're gonna buy all 400?
Well, I want to tell you something, at these prices, it's a good deal even after July 1st.
Oh, yes.
Because it's very expensive
Yes, it is.
to incur those costs when needed.
Are there any other questions for Jerry? If not, is there a motion to make the recommended changes in the price structure for the cemetery plots? Is there a second? Any other?
Effective July 1?
Yeah, effective July 1.
I think, yeah, duh.
Thank you.
Okay.
Joe, you second?
No,
Oh, yep.
I
Oh,
think it's already.
any other questions? All right, all those in favor?
And it kills me to do it.
Oh, boy.
Good, Joe.
Okay.
No, I'm purposely not making anything.
Okay, Attorney Weiner?
Yes.
No, it's the cheap shot.
So on the town council's report,
Excuse me, we're aiming for 8 o'clock. We're going to see if we can
we're
get there.
gonna be out. I'm gonna
Joe
be
has
finished.
to go home and watch hockey.
Yes.
If there is, I just wanted to bring you updated on the oil water separator spill that we have in the back of the firehouse and the hole that we have there. As you probably know, we put our insurance company on notice that there was a spill. The town hired an LEP, a licensed environmental professional, to do an examination of the oil water separator, which was uncovered. The earth was uncovered, and it turned out, based on our LEP's examination, our insurance company's examination, that the oil water separator was improperly installed in 2007, 2008 timeframe. The fittings were not properly grouted, which over time caused the leakage, and there was some oil that was spilled into the ground. The LEP did extensive, in conjunction with and coordination with the state DEP, the EEP, did some extensive borings to determine how much problems we would have as far as the oil leakage into the soil. It turns out there was oil leakage, but not nearly as much as it could have been, so the remedial process of this event is going to be limited to removing soil under the tank, removing soil adjacent to the tank that's underground, and it's taking out some soil in the immediate vicinity of the oil water separator. So it's not terrible, it's not great. Our insurance company inspected it, concluded that there was faulty installation, and determined that our policy does not cover this kind of an event. So we are in the process of protesting that decision. We expect to send a letter, if we need to the State Insurance Commission protesting that decision, because while it's not clear that an argument could be made that the insurance company is wrong. Our insurance company is Travelers and has insured the town for years and years. We put Newfield Construction on notice. Newfield was the contractor, the contractor supervisor for the construction of the new firehouse. Coincidentally, their insurance company is also Travelers, so we have the same insurance company, both our insurance company and the entity that's responsible for the improper installation. Newfield, once they got our letter, put their subcontractor on notice, the company that actually provided and installed the oil water separator. So we have everybody on notice, everybody's looking at it. Newfield examined it, the subcontractor, whose name is Midstate, they examined it. We're waiting for them to get back to us and say whether someone is going to step up to the plate and honor some responsibility here to the town. If not, we have to pursue legal remedies, because clearly it was the town's responsibility. They were all going to come up with some reason why it wasn't their responsibility before they come to the conclusion, hopefully, that they're going to pay this claim.
But Travelers is our carrier.
Travelers is our carrier.
Travelers is Newfield's carrier.
Yes.
Travelers says it's Newfield's improper construction.
Travelers concluded.
Does Travelers underwrite their E&O?
Yes.
Well, then
Yes.
how can, Travelers has already said it's their fault, so Travelers should be paying on the E&O.
No. Now the E&O policies, if you know how the insurance companies work. One section handles our insurance company. Another section handles the E&O portion of it. That section got into this pretty late, and within the last 10 days, I would say, they're looking at it. Well, they're going to pass it along to the subcontractor. Newfield is going to say, we were just the general contractors, we hired people to do this. We didn't do it. We were responsible
Well,
for
that's
it.
okay, they can go downhill with it.
They're going downhill, right.
But still, they're liable to us.
Ultimately, we have a contract with Newfield. Newfield is liable to us. So we should be okay, but there's going to be a lot of playing around before somebody steps up to the plate.
So what I'm hearing is, obviously this may take some time to get back from somebody or the
Right.
insurance company.
Right.
In the meantime, when do we need to proceed with the correction of this, the remediation of this, and are we prepared to get that started?
We need to
Sooner
get
than-
it started soon. I have told, we still have the hole open. The reason we've kept the hole open so long is we wanted to give Newfield, Midstate, any other insurance carrier. Midstate is insured by a different carrier other than Travelers. So we wanted to make sure everybody had an opportunity to take a look and not have them say, you closed the hole up, you got a new oil water separator, we're not assuming any liability. So the hole is still open. I've told them they got to do this quickly because we got to either buy it, and the other thing is that the state is now strongly implying that they want us to buy a new oil water separator rather than repairing the old one. So everybody is now on notice. They've already come out and looked, Newfield has looked at it, Midstate has looked at it, and I'm just waiting for the results to come back. They're all talking among themselves, and somebody's going to come back to us. But we have to do this quickly. We'd like to do it quickly. There's a hole in the back of the firehouse, and they all. I've told them within a week they have to let us know whether everybody is satisfied with their inspections, and we're going to close the hole up.
So to my point, basically, one way or another, we're gonna have to get this started, fund it,
Absolutely.
and then recoup the funds
Yes.
from whenever and whoever
Yes.
we may do that.
Yes,
Anything else?
that's it.
Okay. Ordinance Committee report. The Ordinance Committee has met several times. There is no recommendation for action at this time, but I thought we'd give a little update about the three issues that we've been dealing with. One has to do with the storage of waste containers in zones B, and C.
B, C, and D.
B, C, and D, and it's in the areas of town that have smaller lots. There's been some concern about people storing their trash cans not on pickup days too close to their neighbors. But after review of our current ordinance and possible changes, at the last meeting, we concluded that we think our current ordinance covers the situation. And there's been not as much focus on the enforcement side. So those are going to be the next steps, will be enforcement. Now, we've also been talking about two issues that are more complex. One we've talked about at one point here, and that's the tree trimming and what we want to do, particularly in light of the United Illuminating vegetation management program. We've been looking at what other towns do and how we best control the tree trimming. At this time, we will not be issuing any permits to United Illuminating except for specifically identified hazardous trees that have to come down, and we're looking at what the options are and what we think is the best way to protect our trees but assure proper tree management and protection of our electric lines. Susan or Joe, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's pretty much.
Susan? Jerry?
No.
Anything else? We're also looking at the regulations for blasting for construction, and that's come up in two different ways in town. One is with respect to a private development and a housing issue, which is totally within the town, and the other is with respect to the intersection at Routes 63 and 67. And here again, we've looked at what the possibilities are for the town to provide any additional protections for homeowners. In Woodbridge, people are particularly concerned about their wells with respect to blasting. It appears that jurisdiction for the magnitude and type of blasting is exclusively within state jurisdiction. We're still looking at that, but that language seems pretty clear. But we may be able to provide additional protections for our Woodbridge residents with respect to notice of blasting, pre-blasting surveys that give the homeowners some baseline should there be a change after the blasting, and to see if anything else is available. And here again, there's quite a bit to look at and gathering information. So we're not ready to make recommendations. And again, I welcome any additional comments. Susan, Joe, Betsy, Jerry.
That was it?
That's so that's where we are. And I thought you should.
He has to go. He
Yeah.
wants to watch the game.
I thought people should be aware of it because they're significant issues. They're perhaps not as complex as truck washing, but they do have their complexities. Indeed.
Yes.
About the last one?
Yes.
I remember going back to the last proposal that came from Toll Brothers when we were talking about the country club a few years back. They had been talking about blasting that area. The area that they wanted had a lot of rock, and they were talking about doing some blasting. And of course, there was concerns from the residents locally on what that would do to their wells. And I do remember there was a few questions, and somebody was going to try to follow up on what you're speaking of. So hopefully, you said you're trying to find out more from the state about what the actual state rules are. So we'll have that in place and know that that might be something that comes up again for that property, because there is a large area of that property that may, at least a company may want to blast. So it would
Yes,
be
there may
good to
be,
know.
there may be, we don't know all the places where they'll be
Right.
blasting. Certainly Peck Hill is an area, and what we have been looking at is what is the scope of what the town can do, other than help to lobby the state to make changes in the state standards. But it seems the state standards pretty much control.
Great.
Okay. Town clerk's report. Is there a motion to acknowledge receipt of the town clerk's report?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have the April 9th Board of Selectmen minutes here. I'll make a motion to approve the April 9th minutes. There a second?
Second.
Any questions or corrections?
I had a couple things I gave you, Jerry.
There we go.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay.
That's a good idea.
I want to get out of here too, pal.
All in favor, subject to best correction?
Okay, if there is nothing else, all those in favor?
Aye.
Jerry, I'll abstain.
Thank you. Item 14, Human Services has made recommendations for 2 appointments. They've asked us to approve Juan Hernandez for reappointment to the Regional Mental Health Board. We don't have resumes here. Both of these people have been before the board before. If anyone wants to delay for that, please let me know. Otherwise, is there a motion to approve the reappointment? Thank you. Second, any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And the appointment of Chris Lovejoy is as an alternate for Sharon Bender to the Greater New Haven Transit District Board of Directors. Is there a motion?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. First Selectmen's report. The first thing I would like to say is congratulations to the board. We have now completed a full year together. Today is the last, I think, the last session of our first year. I think we've all learned a great deal together. And I want to thank everyone for all the work we've done during the year. It's been a fast year. A few other things. I am very, very pleased to let people know, if you haven't seen it already, that we will be having a farmer's market outside of the library this summer. It will be on the 4th Wednesday of the month, June 25th, July 23rd, August 27th, and September 24th. Thank you very much to the library for getting this organized. I think people in town will be very, very pleased to have another community event and community asset. It's something people talk about quite a bit, so that's a very welcome change for the town. Our concert series begins on Tuesday, July 1st. The Recreation Commission has been looking to add different aspects to it. The first one on July 1st will be Taste of Woodbridge, and we'll be having local restaurants will be offering samples of their ware. Tony, as I understand it, you've been doing some volunteer work for the town to help with that, which is very nice to help people be aware of what's going on and promoting our local businesses. I'd like to remind everyone, if you all haven't, if you're in this room and anyone who's watching, to please fill out the Plan of Conservation and Development Survey. It's on the town website. It's easy to find. It takes a few minutes to do, but it's very important that everyone participate in helping us identify and define the vision of the town for the next 10 years. There's also, since I've been for Selectmen, I've heard many times people's interest in clean energy and how to look at programs, particularly for their homes and residences. Other towns have programs, and I know there used to be a task force, and I have appointed an ad hoc energy advisory task force. They will look at what the different programs and options are and make recommendations to this board about what would be the best way to proceed. They'll help us get the word out and really put Woodbridge on the cutting edge with respect to clean energy and energy savings programs. Lisa Connor will serve as chair of the task force. Laura Fernandez and Dawn Coppell are also members of the task force, and they're just getting organized and will be announcing their meetings. I will mention some of the activities that I have taken part in since May 20th, 2014. I met with the new DEEP Commissioner, Rob Klee, to talk about possible synergies with DEEP and some of the programs we're working on. Also, we are happy to welcome Rob and his family to the town of Woodbridge. They recently moved here. I've also been talking with Susan Antonazzi about the Garden Club's 80th anniversary. That's a big event for them. They also had a luncheon, which I attended, and if you haven't been on the Garden Club's website, I recommend it to really appreciate all that they do. I know we all see the beautiful gardens around town, and they do a terrific job. The contract with ESG was signed to go ahead with the Beecher Road School project. We also had a meeting with the Department of Transportation with respect to the Exit 59 plans that the state is still working on. It was very well attended by town residents who asked good questions, and I think a good format for communication was opened up at that time. There were 2 Memorial Day ceremonies. I attended the firemen's ceremony on May 25th and the town ceremony on May 26th. Also, the SCROG meeting on May 28th. SCROG is looking at our regional economic development program as we now have it under REX, and looking at if there are better ways to improve that and really get better results for all of our towns. The second POCD charrette was on May 29th. Many of us attended that as well, and we made additional progress with respect to the POCD. May 30th was a terrific day. It was the Pease Place Playground groundbreaking, and it was very exciting, very positive, and another wonderful addition to the town of Woodbridge. We also have determined that the town is purchasing a brick to express our thanks to Colleen and Klima and Terry Schatz for their great work in making this happen. We are part of a regional ambulance dispatch service called CMed, and there's been discussion about the possible disbanding of CMed or replacement by some other process. It's basically going through SCROG. It will have significant impact for the town, but there's nothing definite yet, and I'll keep you posted on that. And I just want to mention today, Tony and I were at Beecher Road School looking at the areas which will get the first attention under the $500,000 STEEP grant. It's clear that there's a great deal of paving and sidewalk work that needs to get done. We don't know if it will cover everything. We're hoping that it does. And we're also looking at the timing to see if it could begin before or at the same time as the construction this summer. Not likely, but we are looking into that. So that is my report. And now, Betsy, do you have anything?
Yeah, I have a quick piece of news and a quick reminder. So the news is that the town now has an e-newsletter. And it's proven to be very popular. It's weekly, it's very brief, and I'm excited to report that the industry, this is very technical, the industry average for government organizations is about 25% of recipients open their emails. 50% of the Woodbridge e-newsletter have opened the email, so we're doing twice as well as the industry average. So clearly there's a need and a want for all this information. And just this evening, while we've been at the meeting, I got 3 emails from people who signed up for the newsletter. So you can sign up for the newsletter by going to our Facebook account. There's a link there. There's a link on the town website, or there's a link if you go to tinyurl.com/Woodbridge-e-news, and I'm told that's going to be on the crawl at the bottom of the screen for folks watching TV.
Who was indicating?
And
we should take a pause, see if you get any new signups right now. Be the first.
Call me.
And the last thing is I just wanted to reiterate what Ellen was saying about the POCD. The online survey is very important. It's going to be online, available through the end of June, possibly a little later, and you can get to that survey by going through the town's website. It's under important links, or you can go to tinyurl.com/Woodbridge POCD. So please fill that out. It's really important. And that's
Thank
it.
you, Betsy. Okay, liaison reports. Lawrence.
The Woodbridge Board of Ed changed its May meeting to accommodate the annual town meeting, and I wasn't able to attend the rescheduled meeting. And the Amity Board of Ed met Monday night, and I wasn't able to be there either.
Good report,
I'm
Lawrence.
done.
Thank you. Susan.
The golf commission met, I was only there for like 2 minutes. But I can tell you they continue to be bullish. I did attend the police commission meeting, and the commission there, they had a meeting with the representative from the South Central Criminal Justice Administration, which is not unlike CABE is to Board of Education's. The South Central Criminal Justice Administration is to police departments in 21 communities. And that organization talked about, Mr. Sherwood from that organization talked about the different ways that police departments evaluate what it is that they are doing in terms of their resources, their funding, how to allocate those resources. And the commission voted to have him conduct a study and to work with him on creating the variables for that study. It will take about a year.
Thank you.
I'll be quick. I attended the June 2nd Town Plan and Zoning Commission. They denied an application from KFP Limited Partnership asking to amend the zoning regs by removing the limitation on the gross floor area of a building that can be used to sell convenience items. I think the commission was hoping that they would revisit this as part of the whole plan of conservation and development, so it just didn't happen, but hopefully it will. They did approve an application for 12 Lunar Drive for a change of use for a portion of the building for a CrossFit gym. Those guys were, wow. And big.
Not that she was looking.
Big.
Not that you were looking.
Muscular.
They were just they were fit.
That was impressive. That's all you have to say.
And, oh dear. Each commission member reported on and reviewed the recent charrettes about the plan of conservation and development, and Michael Looney was there to receive this input. And he reported that the RFP is going out soon, and I know it has, so
Oh,
that's
yes,
good.
I meant to say that. It did.
Yeah.
Thank you. The
Yeah.
RFP did go out on Friday.
I got a couple calls from people, and it is up on the web on our website, because I told them to go there and go under RFPs and bids or something. That side of the.
Two places. It's under the RFPs and bids, and it's under the news section.
Exactly. So a couple people found it. And the fire commission meeting is next Monday. That's all I have.
Thank you. Tony, do you have anything?
I do. And I'm not going to be that short, but I'll try. Since we last met on the 20th, Recreation did not meet. They had met on the 19th, right before our meeting. They are meeting again in a few days on the 23rd. However, I did want to make a second mention that the first concert will be Taste of Woodbridge, and the rain date is the following week. And on the July 15th, they are going to be including a health fair for all healthcare professionals and facilities in Woodbridge to come and sit and have a table and offer something to the folks of Woodbridge and let them know that they're there. As far as Coop Op and Conservation, my other two commissions, the good news for me is they've been meeting together for the last few months. So we've had joint meetings. They held 2 joint meetings in May. They just held a joint meeting the other night that I was at as well. They plan on coming before the Board of Selectmen as well as TP&Z. They have some concepts that they're kicking around, including one which is a form for consent for property owners of properties they'd like to list and rate, but they'd like to see if they can get their consent before they make those properties public on how they're listed. They'll tell us more about that. That's one of the proposals they plan on coming. They're also trying to define better how they're rating the properties in town. and using more of a definition and a category section, which is a good idea to listen to some of their concepts. Go ahead.
Rating for potential
For
purchase?
potential
Potential purchase.
future open space purposes for the town.
Oh, okay.
That's what the rating system is there. They were hoping to get it all included in the 10-year plan. It doesn't look at this time they're gonna have enough time to get it in this one. However, they're still going forward and want to come up with the proper definitions, categories, and ratings of the properties. That way, it's just a matter of updating. It takes quite a bit of time to come up with it for the entire town, which COOPOP and Conservation have been working hard together trying to get that process going. So they want to get a feel for where the Board of Selectmen and TPC sit as far as this possible consent form and some of the work they're doing. Also, there was a discussion about the open space, and I understand, I believe Laura Fernandez came to Tony Genovese about, is there a balance? Is there a fund for open space? What the balance might be? And that discussion led into them thinking about, in the future, possible sales, or bringing the recommendation to town of possible sales of some current open space properties that are maybe not that important to the actual greater plan of open space, including the 10-year plan. In other words, there are some small pieces that are either handed down to town over time that don't really fit an open space plan. They're not really near the, and they were hoping maybe in time being able to come to us with those properties, put them up for sale, and take that money, put it into the fund balance, so when a more appropriate or important rated property does come available, there would be some funding there that they may want to purchase, with obviously coming to the board first. And then the last thing I'm going to make mention are two of them that go with both commissions. First, the Conservation Commission actually had a member or two asking for an update on, months back we asked for, they sent a letter about a sign for the Massaro Farm. If we can put up signs, they're on state roads, where the beginning and end of Ford Road, if we could get a signage approval to put something up for the Massaro Farm. And then the last thing, and this is a great one for me, all three of my commissions, Recreation, COOPOP, and Conservation, are holding a tri-commission walk. It's a hike, and it's happening on June 28th. You will see probably flyers and information coming out about it. They plan on holding this hike basically at the end of Clearview Road, what we call the Racebrook Track, and they may include getting a bus to bring people. You may only walk one way type thing. So you'll hear more about that, but it's a tri-commission trail walk, and we invite everybody in town to come out.
Thank you.
That's it.
No report.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Here we go. What time? No, let's stay a little longer.
Yeah.
Everybody has to take a cookie.
Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn? Would you like to?
I would, yes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Good point.
Okay, thank you.
So Tony,